Good morning, and I just want to welcome everyone to this session at the Integrated Learning Conference on the K-12 Guidance Plan Program and Toolkit. I am here today. My name is Kathy Spake with Alice Justice, and I just want to say I'm delighted to be a part of it. I was a regular attendee at the Integrated Learning Conference for the past decade. And just to give you a little history, I began involvement with the plan and the K-12 program and toolkit. And that began in 2012 when the school district I was working in Milton began working with Mike Thompson and Betty Holmboe. And in terms of just the kind of counselor I was and the kind of things I could do for my students, the plan helped me to connect with career technical education and provide meaningful opportunities to my elementary and then my middle school students as I continued my career. I also worked on faculty at Bloomsburg University for the past 6 years until 2020, and I was out in the field in the Northeast considerably and saw again the impact of the plan. And again, I want to emphasize the connection with career technical education because this is a career technical conference. And I feel that a lot of the attendees today are coming from many different stakeholder positions. And so as we navigate this PowerPoint, we are going to try to address various areas of development. The K-12 Guidance Plan Toolkit overview. This toolkit provides a roadmap and materials to develop, update, and sustain the K-12 guidance plan, regardless of the current status of the plan. Resources were chosen to ensure that all districts with their career and technology centers can develop and implement an effective K-12 plan. So why do we do what we do? I think looking back, and I think, I can speak for many counselors in the field, we operated in somewhat isolation and we didn't look at a developmental approach of a K-12 curriculum. So we pulled up 2 examples of students that graduated successfully from high school, but chose different career paths. And we looked at Kim, who wanted a 4-year college degree, but hadn't really mapped out exactly what where she was going to go with that degree. And then we looked at Renee, who spent 2 years in the military and became an electrician eventually because of some career technical education and some CTC experience, and connected to a very different scenario 4 years later. Kim, at the end of 4 years, had a lot of student debt. And Renee, of course, did not because of the military and a paid apprenticeship. And again, comparing the 2 things, we don't mean to imply that every college student is unprepared like Kim, but an effective K-12 guidance plan can help school staff guide students to make good post-secondary decisions, whether they choose a 4-year route, a 2-year route, an apprenticeship, what type of involvement they have. So a little overview of what we're going to talk about today. First of all, background and history, and then the overview of the K-12 guidance plan and its evolution. And then we're going to take a really close look at the toolkit that's been recently developed. It is complete, it is under final review, and you will see areas counselor related, delivery system related. These are all concepts, and stakeholder engagement and pathway development. So there are the 4 components and 13 different concepts under those areas. Next is a timeline that's sort of like, I think everybody, depending on where you're coming from, whether you're a career technical education educator and you're attending this conference, a school counselor, an administrator, like you can look at this timeline and look at different things that happened throughout the history since 1984 and all the way up to the present with the career ready skills. And everyone will take on a special meaning to you. Again, I'm just going to kind of jump in and relate my own personal experience. For example, I was a school counselor. So in 2014, when the school counselor evaluation rubric rolled out, I could clearly define more what my role as a counselor should be. Another example, when we began the K through 12, if you point over, Alice, to the K through 12 trainings that began statewide in 2010, I was at a middle school then, and it became very obvious to me that in order to teach the career education and work standards, I would have to engage other faculty, I would have to engage business and professional community, I would have to engage post-secondary and work through that. And so looking at when the career education and work standards rolled out in 2006, I had a social studies teacher that came on board, and we co-facilitated, and it gave me the whole framework of working together as a team to prepare students for post-secondary decisions. So let's look at the K through 12 guidance plan. That really, again, is just a roadmap for how you do all this, how we take a closer, deeper look and try to meet the needs of every student. It is a required document, and it must be board approved or joint operating committee approved at the career technical centers. It should be submitted and filed, the school district's plans with the career technical centers. It should be reviewed and updated. It's a required document for submission to the Future Ready Comprehensive Planning Tool, and we'll get into more detail later on that when we open up the toolkit. And then, as we've seen in this past year, as education has just changed to meet virtual needs, like continued activity, updates, and revisions, and as I worked through plans within the last 6-8 years, in a lot of different scenarios and setting, I saw that become increasingly important. So let's look at an overview of what is the K through 12 plan. And we see the 4 components across the top in the darker burgundy highlighted: the counselor related, the delivery system, the stakeholder engagement, and the pathway development. Looking at counselor related, we've got 3 concepts, which will, when we open the toolkit, give you more specifics about. And looking at concepts 4 through 9 under delivery, this is a major piece. This is your curriculum. This is your program goals. This is how you're going to meet the needs of all students. And then the stakeholder engagement, a very important piece with the advisory council, where you do meet together on a regular basis and discuss your goals and your curriculum and try to involve people in the outside business world and the post-secondary world and coming in, and the parents and the staff in your buildings. And then pathway development, I mean, I think that was probably one of the most powerful pieces for me, because as I spent the years as an elementary counselor, I really did not connect in the way that I was taught to connect with the K through 12 plan with the career technical opportunities that were available at my high school. As I began to write the plan and I got to work with the teachers that were part of that, I just felt like I learned so much, and I was able to pass that on to so many people. It was very, very powerful. It also made a difference, before I get into the plan format and some specifics, I just want to say that it also made a difference in the culture of our building. As we began to engage students and get them focused more on their future and career plans, post-secondary plans, it began to give them a more positive outlook. We had some, data to support that. So now we're going to look at the original plan versus the new format plan. So if you go down the middle, if you were trained prior to 2018, the original plan is right in the center there. And so as you're looking at this as a team, you can take an old plan, or an original plan, I guess I'll correctly call it, and put it into the new format quite easily, which is on the left. The concepts are just reorganized, and then there's some new information that's added. For example, like the original concept 3 was a job description that some counselors had them, some counselors didn't. But when the counselor evaluation came out and it really became clear exactly what counselors were supposed to be doing, that was an adjustment that was made to the plan. So again, you're going to want to take a closer look at this in a 45-minute webinar. We can't begin to sort through it, but as we get into the toolkit, you can begin to pull out the things that will be most helpful to you. So the toolkit overview, it's an interactive document that provides a brief summary and purpose and role for each of the 13 concepts which comprise the K-12 plan. Each brief summary provides a series of hyperlinks with resources, and then blank templates are included in the appendix. And I think this is a good point to just throw in there that it doesn't matter at what stage you're at. If you wrote a plan in 2014 and you haven't touched it since then, this is an easy tool to use to update everything. If you're an entry-level counselor and you've had in your counselor prep training program no information about writing a plan, you can really dig into it and learn what it's all about, like from the very beginning. So basically, we've pulled background information, research and career development theory, link to the K-12 guidance plan rubric, overviews of benefits about developing your program, and strategies for developing and sustaining your plan. Go ahead, Alice.
I just want to jump in and mention that K-12 guidance plan rubric is the document developed by the state, and auditors may have that in hand when they come to look at your plan when you're audited.
Okay, so we're just going to scroll through the next 4 slides because we want to get right into the toolkit and show you, this is the rough outline, and Alice is going to take a minute here to open up the toolkit so that you can actually really take a close look at how this toolkit works. If you were trained, many of the documents will look familiar to you because they've been updated, streamlined, condensed to make them accessible, easier to navigate, and just kind of lay out what you need to do. There's brief paragraphs in each section just explaining the rationale, the thought process, why it's included in the plan. And so here we go. I think Alice has screen shared it now, and we can get started with it. So career development consultants, and they're listed there, develop this plan as a team, a collaborative team. And many of us have worked together over the years to, again, develop some of the materials that we're going to talk about. And then, of course, there's a mention of Mike Thompson, who was a part of this team and certainly was a driving force in the trainings with Betty for most of the time that I've talked about when I was trained, when Alice was trained. So introduction and background. First, you're going to see a table of contents, and I'm just going to let Alice scroll on down through that because that's self-explanatory. And there you see the timeline that we highlighted on the PowerPoint. Again, that's really important because it does show the scope and sequence and all the things. And if you look to the really current, situation, 2018, 2019, the reformat, the career ready skills, up there on 2015 ESSA and the Future Ready PA Index were rolled out in 2018. And just so many things that happened in the last 2 years that really added a driving force to why it's important to have a plan.
I'm going to jump in right here and mention to you guys that there are actually 38 documents that are linked to the toolkit, and they're all designed to streamline your work for you. There's also embedded links. At times you're asked to cite the ASCA mindsets and behaviors or the career educational work standards. Rather than you having to go and find those or have copies of them, the links are actually going to take you there. We're not going to show you all the links today, but we have chosen a couple that we want you to point out to you. And the first one is that rubric we mentioned that the state will use. It also is a super tool for you to self-evaluate your plan as you are completing it. So I'm going to go to that right now, Kathy.
And someone commented, Alice, that the website for the toolkit scrolled through really quickly. And that I think is on purpose because everybody's going to be receiving it eventually, right?
And that's not live yet because we're in final review. So you're going to get a copy of the PowerPoint and the contact information to receive that. We're guessing that that'll be ready to go at the beginning or the end of next week.
Okay, so we're going to open up the rubric right now, and I think that's just a really great tool because, as Alice mentioned, that is what your auditors are going to come in and look at. I saw that in action last year when I was supervising interns in the field, and I got a lot of feedback that this tool was particularly helpful as they rewrote their plan or updated their plan because it gave them measures of where they should be on the various concepts. So we're scrolling down through now. You've seen that before, but just for example, concept 1, some of them are a simple yes or no. And then as we scroll down through the other areas, it becomes more a process type thing. And just look at mission statement, for example. And as you get into the toolkit, you will have tools, links that you can look at, sample mission statements. You can engage, how to engage stakeholders, how to write a good mission statement. All that is embedded in the toolkit. Maybe that's something you've already done and you feel like it's in really good shape and you can answer yes. Then that's one you don't have to dig deeper into. But as you go down through program calendars and the delivery system, I think those are the ones that change most frequently because I think all of our roles change constantly. And so we always have to be looking at how we deliver services and how we deliver curriculum to students. And so, like, for example, in concept 6, the tiered delivery system, are you emerging? Are you starting to do some of those things? Are you progressing? Or are you excelling in those areas? And I think most stakeholders involved in implementation of the plan can say they're somewhere from beginning to middle to maybe they're really great at it. And that's what's really helpful about this tool. You can take a look at each of the concepts individually, ask yourself those hard questions. For example, concept 9, does the student planning process reflect the K-12 career readiness activities? Are they aligned with the career education and work standards? Are they aligned with the American School Counselors Association standards? And you can evaluate yourself on that and make comments.
I want to jump in for a second, Kathy, because one of the ones that is so important to me is the new plan really zeroes in more on making sure that we are connecting our kids with what their career and technical education options in their area are. And they're different depending on what school district you're in. But this has become, for me was a major eye-opener when we wrote our plan in 2012. And it really helped me do a much better job as a middle school counselor, making sure that kids understood what jobs were out there and what great opportunities were linked to career and technical education.
And that's what the concept 13, I can echo that, Alice, because again, I began in my middle school interactions with my students, tier 1, all students. I began bringing high school students that were part of our career technical education programs over to talk to those students in their classrooms. And it was one of the most effective strategies that I did. It was really the capstone of my career when I left the middle school to go on to higher education and work with training counselors. So again, just extremely valuable and, a really good tool. And Alice is going to go back to the toolkit now that you've seen one of the links, and we're going to move ahead. All throughout the toolkit, don't be afraid to click on to open various things that will guide you in your development. And when you're working together as a team to update your plan, you may want to assign different areas to different individuals based on needs, strengths, weaknesses, and that's what the toolkit is designed to do. You can really sit down and print out a copy of it or electronically mark what you're assigning to everyone. And then when you come back to the table, it becomes very easy to see what else needs to be done, where do we need to expand. It can only help to improve your program. And the tier 1, I can't emphasize that enough, reaching all students. As I was involved in the training of school counselors, that training model has gone to more tier 1 services, that counselors are involved not just on one-on-one and small groups, but working with the entire student body and the whole population. That's really important to mention because it's kind of been a shift in the training of counselors. I can speak to that.
Thanks for being patient, Kathy.
So Alice is still having a little hard time pulling up the toolkit. Actually, I can go ahead and talk about it a little bit. We have pulled some plans that were written in 2018, 2019 that were part of the last wave of trainings, before the trainings were completed. And some of those have really great examples of what is wanted in some of the curriculum areas, so you will see that. I worked on that second section of the toolkit with Aaron Slusser, who's a current middle school counselor and a leader in his local association. And we reviewed all that, and we talked about it and said, what do people need right now in the field? What is it that they're looking for? And again, given the virtual environment that we're living in right now, it's just, really, really challenging to meet all those needs. And I think everybody is focused on, how to do that in the best way. So now we're back at the toolkit.
Did it show up?
Yep.
It's a miracle.
So let's scroll down, Alice. I think we talked about the timeline. They've seen the original in the PowerPoint, and here we go to the research. So once again, because of time factor here, we're just not going to open all the links under the research, but Alice, can you just comment briefly on, why they're so important?
So these links become really critical if you're meeting some questions or some pushback with regard to teaching the standards. And granted, schools are very overwhelmed. They're being asked to do a lot of different things, but we believe very strongly that these are some of the most important things. And if you need rationale, research, and defense of what you're trying to do, you can find those things there.
So there's a call to action, benefits, strategies, and ownership. Again, they're all bulleted. That would be a good place to start when you gather your team together, to just sit down and review those to give everybody a purposeful assignment. And so continue to scroll down, who owns the K-12 plan? And again, it talks about all the stakeholders, which we'll get into a little bit further down in the toolkit. How to use the toolkit, I guess the thing to say here in a very direct way is it doesn't matter what level you're at. It doesn't matter if you haven't touched your plan for 6 years. I said that before. I'm saying it again because it's so important. I think there's, a tendency to think, oh, wow, this is overwhelming. How do we involve all these people? But when you break it down and use the toolkit, you find it very manageable. And now we're going to move down to the components and the concepts, which, we've gone over several times in the PowerPoint. 4 components, beginning with the role of the school counselor, and all kinds of documents, again, links for you to click on. Some of those are templates that you can just begin to list your names, building assignments. That's one of the easiest ones, but I have to say it's one of the most powerful ones, because when you look at ratios and what someone's assignment is, it's changed a lot of counselor dynamics when school boards and administration and outside stakeholders begin to understand what the assignment of the counselor is. And then jumping down, there's a link there for the counselor evaluation process. Do you want to open that, Alice, or are we going to move through?
The same problem we were the last time.
Okay, so we're just going to tell you that you can access, by clicking on this link, the counselor rubric, which gives the Danielson model of all the different domains that the counselor is evaluated on. The nice thing I like about it, I used it heavily in my supervision. The nice thing I like about it is it specifically gives examples of things that you can be doing. And one of the things that really popped out when I began working with some of the trainings a few years ago was that so much of the evaluation was addressed at career engagement of counselors. For those of you in the audience today that are not school counselors, like counselors work in the personal social domain and the academic domain in the career. And we often talked about how we needed to refocus and let the career domain become a powerful motivator to address some of the other areas. And it really works.
One of the things I really like about this section, and I'm guessing we may have a few counselors out there, but more of you may be educators at a career and technical center, is that this new model of evaluation really highlights the need for school counselors, teachers, administrators to work together, because career development is everybody's job. And it, as a counselor, I was a teacher, so it wasn't so hard for me to understand or empathize with the teacher plight because I had done it for a number of years. But many school counselors now aren't teachers. This really helps them with that. But likewise, it really helps classroom teachers understand what the role and what the many, many things counselors are doing behind the scenes, because lots of times you may not see all the different things that are happening. So that was really exciting for me.
Okay, and we talked about mission statement. We're going to scroll down through that. Again, Alice, I think we mentioned earlier that we provided these links so you don't have to go out looking for them. So when you are writing your curriculum and you need the standards and you need the specific like number and domain, you can click on it and it comes up very easily. Again, scrolling down through the mission statement, we talked about that a little bit. The program calendar, there's an example from a school district on one of these links about what the calendar should look like. I think that's down a little bit.
Pull that up for them, Kathy.
Okay, that'd be great.
Do you want me to pull up the example or the direction?
The example. I think if you see the example, you begin to see how this comes together. The other one is more of a blank document that allows you to start filling it in. But this is a school district that was recently trained, I think in 2018. They were trained in the new format, and they began to go through, and there you can see September, and they divided it into all the different areas of counselor responsibilities. And then as you scroll down through, you can see like what level was involved in what, and it becomes very manageable. When you sit down as a team and look at what you do throughout the year, it's really easy to put the X's in the boxes and say, we're doing this, we're doing that. What levels are we doing it? Where are we fitting in? And it just makes a lot of sense.
There's some things that aren't month specific. So at the end, you have the things that you do all like ongoing. So those things are recorded too. That's a great document for administrators and teachers to review as part of the team to see where they can best fit in and support the program.
And we're going to go back now to the toolkit, I think, Alice. I think we're
give it a whirl.
Yep. little challenge. Okay, there we go. So concepts 5 and 6, you just saw that example of that from the Plum School District. And now we're moving down into the curriculum action plan. Again, you see the career ready skills, everything we've talked about before. And here you're going to see, and we're not going to open every one for you, but the Hempfield Area School District wrote their plan, I believe, in 2018 in the new format. And it gives some good examples of some of these, some of the curriculum, some of the engagement of stakeholders. And there's even 7C there, a curriculum action plan written by a student in one of the training program classes, because she had been trained on the K-12 plan. And in her early elementary curriculum, when you open that up, you'll be able to see that she engaged a number of outside stakeholders in delivering her second grade curriculum. And that was really cool because typically elementary counselors are in the classroom a lot and take it all on themselves. And so we like that example because it gave stakeholder engagement.
Those of you that are classroom teachers or program teachers, you might find yourself in this document if you're delivering a work skills lesson, if you're helping kids write a resume, you might find yourself actually listed on that plan as the person that's delivering that, because all of those things I just mentioned are part of the career education and work standards.
Yes, in that document, I can just echo that, Alice. There's a family consumer science teacher that's involved in the middle school and high school delivery. There's a business education teacher. Like, the more you go up the grade levels, the more you see classroom teachers, which many of you are, involved in delivering those services. And what's so exciting about it is you're the experts in your area. So if you're a family consumer science teacher, you're giving your enthusiasm and creating an opportunity for one of the students in those classrooms to feel the way you do about it. Now we're going to look at program goals. And again, in light of time, we're not going to open up Harbor Creek, but there's an example of a blank document in how to set annual program goals and some instructions, and then an example from Harbor Creek, which is a recently written plan. And again, all of those are SMART goals. I'm assuming everybody's familiar with SMART goals, but one of the links really explains that in a very specific way to you. They have to be, measurable, attainable. They have to be very specific. Moving into concept 9, the academic and career plan. Everybody's doing this in different ways. There's maybe Alice, you can comment on that. There's some programs that address this as well as some individual school districts.
Some school districts have opted to adopt and pay for something like Naviance or Career Cruising. It has a different name now, and or Smart Futures. And those things usually provide you not only with that delivery system tier 1 curriculum, what the kids are being taught, but it also provides you with an academic career plan, outline option, and a portfolio process. But not everybody has done that. Some people have gone out on their own and developed their own portfolio using Google Docs. And so what we tried to do is make sure that we provided you with some examples of districts that develop their own things in case that's the route that you wanted to take. But those links can help you out with that.
And again, the end goal, while Alice is scrolling through here, is that every student graduates with a plan, and that plan does not just emerge their junior or senior year, but that plan began in elementary school as they move through all the different aspects of career development and career instruction. The next 2 concepts are the stakeholder engagement. And again, this one was one of the most light bulb, just really powerful, I guess I could say, pieces to me, because prior to training in the plan, I really operated in a bubble. Did not think much about bringing business and industry in, bringing post-secondary in my elementary and middle school. I think that was being done to an extent at many high schools before the large training on the plan, but I don't think it was being done in the K-8. And I have seen, once again, the power of bringing the outside community in. And you have to look at your demographics, and you have to make sure that when you're engaging your stakeholders, that your demographics are mirrored. And Alice, maybe you can comment on that.
I think it's really important. We're going to talk a little bit about the advisory council down here, but when you're making up your advisory council, we made an early mistake, and we just recruited everybody that we knew that was already very invested in our school and was participating on a daily basis. And that was a big mistake, because your advisory council, your K-12 guidance plan, that's designed to tackle your weaknesses, the places you need to do a better job. So once we started considering including parents, for instance, who weren't maybe best served by us and had kids who were getting to the end of their high school career without a good plan, that's when we really started to make big changes, because we were being challenged. We weren't able to just pretend like everything was great. That K-12 Advisory Council became a problem-solving vehicle rather than a let's get together, eat some donuts, and we'll show you all the great stuff we did all year. And I think that's really critical.
I agree. Yeah. So we're going to wrap up with the toolkit here. The last part, the career pathways, awareness and development. And once again, some good example of resources, some things about connecting with your career and technology centers and your whole CT education program. So Alice, a comment on that.
One of the things that, again, I had mentioned that was really the eye opener for me, but for some school districts, that's a challenge, particularly if you keep in mind that many kids close the door on the CTC by 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. Many of those same kids close the door on on other post-secondary options. So getting to the kids early is important, but if a CTC serves 17 school districts, they can't release their kids to go see the 3rd graders, the 8th graders, the 11th graders. They can't provide tours to everybody. So you have to start to get creative. What virtual things can you provide for kids? We've included a scavenger hunt that I developed at my middle schoolers. We have 5th grade in middle school. They actually do a career scavenger hunt on our local CTC's website, because it's a great website and there's lots of fun stuff there for them to find.
And again, some good examples. Hempfield District has a strategy document that, reading through really gives you some good ideas and ways to move forward in that area. So looking at the final piece of the toolkit, the update and sustainability, like how do you keep everything going? And again, some links to things, ways to evaluate your program. And this even goes back to the rubric that we identified earlier. Like what you're really doing to sustain it is going back to that rubric every year and looking at where you stand and whether you've made the updates and the changes that are needed given the current environment. And this year is the perfect example of that.
The other thing I want to add is for those of you that already have a plan and are ready to jump in on getting it revised, this is a great place to start. Make sure you're meeting regularly, make sure you have a good team to discuss things. All of that can really help make sure that as you're developing your plan, you're making it a living, breathing document. The whole purpose of the plan is so that you have a great program. Some districts write their plan and they don't look at it for 5 years. That's not what's intended here. What's intended here is that this helps you get all the things done you're being asked to do.
And so I think we'll move back to the PowerPoint, Alice, because I think we're low on time here. We're down to about 3 minutes according to my timer.
Yeah, and then we have some time.
And then I just want to thank everyone, because you'll see on the final PowerPoint, like our contact information. Jeanette Carter is listed on there. She is helping us to be able to contact all the counselors that want more information, send the toolkit when it becomes finalized. So, pay particular attention. There's an arrow, I think there by Jeanette's name, but let me go over the summary first. I think I'm not, going to read that. You can read it on your own. I think the final statement says it all. Your plan should help your system open doors, not close them, and expose all students to as many options as are out there. And then the final is the contact information, and it really has been great working as part of a team. So let's go to questions, Alice. We have a few minutes left.
We have time to watch the movie.
Okay.
Okay, so the last thing we have for you is a really great, I love it because I think it really captures what has to happen for kids and for systems. For a long time, career development was a high school initiative that was implemented by guidance counselors. And we are no longer guidance counselors. We're school counselors with a lot more things to do than just help kids get into college. As a result of that, this plan really emphasizes how important it is for us to really get out there and help kids from day one. When they walk in the door in kindergarten, there are things that kindergarten teachers do that open doors, and there are things that kindergarten teachers do that close doors. I remember talking to a student in the middle school who told me he didn't consider the CTC because in all of his elementary classrooms, the teachers all had their banners up from the colleges they went to. So he thought that that's what he was supposed to do. Those teachers didn't intend that to happen, but it's a really clear reminder of how all those little things make a difference. So
go ahead and share the video. It's very powerful. I don't have it on my screen yet, Alice. So these are very young children. I'll just give you a little preview that obviously when you read the graphics have some, predisposed ideas about who can do what. And after the real people walk in, from the firefighter to the other technical positions, a doctor, it kind of opens their eyes to some real possibilities.
here's our timer.
Can you get it, Alice?
It's not, it's buffering, so I don't think we're going to be able to watch it. But what I will tell you is that in the video, we have a bunch of kids who are drawing pictures with some visitors to their classroom. And the visitors are, unbeknownst to the kids, a firefighter, a jet pilot, a surgeon, and they're all women. And when the kids draw those different careers, that like 68 of the 70 pictures were drawn as males. And then those people come back into the room with the kids, and they take their helmets off, or their hats that go along with their careers, and the kids are really surprised to see that they're females. So those kinds of little things are the important pieces of what we have to consider when we're thinking about what we're doing with career development K through 12. The video is something that is on the PowerPoint, and you're going to be able to access it. It's still buffering. If I can get it to work before 10 o'clock, we'll pull it up. So you go ahead and take.
I can take any questions. Yeah.
We have 3 questions this morning. Kim would like to know about a specific place on the state's website where all counseling plans would be held and updated each year that they were submitted. Does this site exist?
That is a site where right now plans probably aren't submitted yet, but it's a portal, and it's associated with Future Ready, and all sorts of plans are going to be housed there, including plans for special education, districts' comprehensive plans, but eventually that is where you will submit your plan, but that is not fully up and operating it yet.
Okay, thank you. Andrea would like to know about the fact that the plan should be updated on a regular basis, and that 5 years between is too long. Is there an official time that the state would be looking to see that it has been updated?
We have always recommended that it be adopted every 5 years, but there's nothing that specifically says that you have to do that. Now, 339 has to be readopted every 5 years, and your plan is a part of that, but it doesn't necessarily specify that it has to be changed. However, it is critical from our perspective that you're reviewing it and updating it yearly. In my district, every one of my school counselor meetings, there was a 15 to 20 minutes dedicated to us pulling up our calendar and our curriculum and marking off, it's September. Did we do these things? If we didn't do these things, why didn't we do them? If we didn't do them because we didn't think they were effective, then we took them out of our plan and replaced them with something else. In my district, we generally, had our plan readopted by our school board at least every 5 years, but if we made significant changes to it, we did it sooner. When, for instance, the plan format changed, we had just adopted ours in the old format. So we adopted ours in 2017, but we took it back to the board in 2018 because there were so many changes in it. It really didn't reflect what we were doing. Did that help answer that question?
Yes, thank you.
Well, and I can just add that it's recommended just meeting together as a team and working together, because every year, as we all know in education, there's always a lot of changes and changes in assignments, just things that happen that, we sometimes don't anticipate. And so I think one of the biggest things I found as a practicing school counselor was that talking together and working through things, we could improve, we could get better at what we did if we kept on that regular schedule.
Are there any other questions, Patty?
I do have, do you want to show your video? Because we are running out of.
It stopped buffering, so I think it's going to work.
Okay, I suggest you show that first.
Okay, all right.
This to draw people to doing different jobs. And the first job we're going to draw is a firefighter.
Have a think in your head what a firefighter looks like.
What's your firefighter called?
Mine's called Firefighter Gary.
Firefighter Star. Firefighter Simon.
He's big and strong.
He's got a big helmet on.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
Next, we're going to draw a surgeon.
Have you thought of a name for your surgeon?
Jim Bob.
Jim Bob.
He's a brain surgeon.
I think he would wear a stethoscope. He gives you medicine.
That's his ambulance.
Okay, next, we're going to draw a fighter pilot.
This is his jet plane.
He rescues people.
He likes to do stunts in the air and stuff.
Okay, now who would like to meet these people for real?
Yeah! They're dressed up.
My name's Tamsin and I'm a surgeon in the NHS.
My name's Lauren and I'm a pilot in the Royal Air Force.
My name's Lucy. I'm a firefighter in the London Fire Brigade.
So who wants to know how to do an operation?
Who's putting it on?
I'll try my
Everyone's
stethoscope.
We put this in here. There you go. Now you're a proper fighter pilot.
So into your ears. Can you hear that? Yeah. It's really good. It's much better, yeah, it's much better than the kids' one.
So that's pretty powerful to me. And one of the things that I want to tell you is I got an email last week from somebody that Kathy and I had worked with in Philadelphia. And the email just thanked me again for us showing this video, because what she said was that they had been having career fairs at their elementary school for years. And they always it was monopolized by professional careers, where they send very few kids from that particularly elementary, those kids, when they get to high school, very few of them go into professional post-secondary training programs. Many more of them were going to the career and technical options that are available in Philadelphia, or the military. And as a byproduct of that, they had really changed who they recruited for that elementary career fair. And, if that doesn't document what a K through 12 guidance plan can do for making sure you're reaching all students. I can't think of another thing. So thanks so much for coming. Patty, are there any other questions?
And I want to thank you too. I saw we had an audience of about 40, and I'm just really pleased to reach out to the field and just open up opportunities that directly benefit our students. Thank you.
Monica stated that the more you can get in front of your school board and administration and talk about your plan, the better. People don't know what school counselors do, so you have to tell them.
And that's the real strength of a strong advisory board. In my district, we had at least 10 meetings in the 5 years, and it just did extraordinary things for the development of our program, which definitely benefited students.
Alice, can you please put up the last page of the PowerPoint? People are asking where they can request the toolkit when it's available. Yep. And I know the information is there.
Yep. So again, I'll address that, and you can see the arrow next to Jeanette Carter's name, and she is the one that is disseminating all the information. She's been a great leader in the process and has really been getting back to everyone that wants specific things, and the toolkit just makes it like very manageable. Thank you all for we really appreciate it, and stay in touch. Request that toolkit. Thank you.